Is it true that this was the swab that the nurse was actually using on you?
Last night, CNN had on New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. Now, in New York State, there are over 350,000 cases of the coronavirus and over 20,000 deaths. That is about a quarter of all the cases and deaths in the U.S. And you'd think because of that, and because of many of the moves that Andrew Cuomo made that led to that result, which I'll get to later, you'd think this would be a hard-hitting interview. Except that, once again, his brother, Chris Cuomo, was the one conducting the interview. So instead, this is what we got.
You had video come out before we go to break where you wanted to encourage people to get tested, and some people are afraid it's going to hurt. So you had video of it that I want to show the audience of you actually getting tested. Here it is. There's you. You were kind of funny, and they were testing you. Now, a few questions about this process. First of all, is it true that when you were having the test administered, you inhaled and the doctor's finger went all the way up your nose and got stuck and had to be released with a tool? Is that true? Just to deal with the record.
She wanted to comment that I have a little button nose, and she was afraid that the swab would actually hurt because it extended my nasal cavity.
The proboscis
she was
issue.
Speaking about the delicacy of
the nose.
Yes.
And that's what, you know what, I understand. This is the normal swab I'm holding up here now, and for everybody at home. A very valuable object. There's only one company in the entire country that makes these up in Maine. All right, here's the swab. Is it true that this was the swab that the nurse was actually using on you, and that at first it went into your nose and disappeared, so that in scale, this was the actual swab that was being used to fit up that double-barrel shotgun that you have mounted on the front of your pretty face?
See, I said I was going to be nice and sweet.
I just want a yes, no.
Was
it
trying.
this?
I was trying.
Or was it this?
Very hard. Look.
Which was it?
You know, first, I thought I did so well on that nasal test standing up there. She did the swab. I did not flinch. I was a cool dude in a loose mood. Didn't move.
Of course
anything.
you were.
I was happy.
That swab is like a piece of lint going in that thing in your face. How could it have collected anything? It was like throwing a rock around a cave.
So not right.
Was it this?
That is
or
just
was
not
it
right.
this? Tell people the truth. Come on, love
That
Gov.
is not right.
Come on, which was
This
it?
is not love. This is not love.
Listen, I just want to get it. I'm going to take a break because if you're not going to answer questions, then I'm going to have to reset. I thought there'd be a little bit more transparency for the audience. I'll put it to them online. You know, this is the regular swab. This is what we're told disappeared in the governor's nose. And then we were told that this is what it took.
All right, look, I'm human. This is funny. Two brothers, you know, going after each other here. Yes, this is entertaining. But that's the problem. This is humanizing the governor that has screwed up this crisis. So this is not what the news should be doing. CNN should not be entertainment. It should be delivering you hard-hitting journalism. It should be delivering you an interview with Andrew Cuomo where there are actually tough questions about his response compared to, say, in California and what they've done. But no, instead, this is the interview. Now, look, this isn't even really Chris Cuomo's fault because he shouldn't be the one doing the interview here. This really comes from the top. When it comes to deciding who does these interviews, Chris Cuomo obviously shouldn't be the one interviewing his brother. I mean, could you have more of a conflict of interest? You need somebody else doing the interview to actually ask Andrew Cuomo tough questions. And again, even if Chris Cuomo wanted to be tough, and maybe at times he is tough, it's still just inherently the fact that it's his brother. I mean, subconsciously, it's going to have an impact on your journalism. He shouldn't be the one doing these interviews. Now, let me go into just some of what Andrew Cuomo has done that has led to the result in New York being worse. Now, of course, look, nobody's pretending here that Donald Trump isn't a bigger buffoon, isn't a bigger screw-up. Obviously, he is. Obviously, all the moves or lack of moves that Trump has made this crisis much worse all across the country. But that doesn't allow you to completely ignore the mistakes that Andrew Cuomo has made. So this from ProPublica. This is an article from May 16th. Two coasts, one virus. How New York suffered nearly 10 times the number of deaths as California. California's governor and San Francisco's mayor worked together to act early in confronting the COVID threat. For Andrew Cuomo and Bill de Blasio, it was a different story, and 27,000 New Yorkers have died so far. So Breed, referring to London Breed, the mayor of San Francisco, it turns out had sent de Blasio a copy of her detailed shelter-in-place order. She thought New York might benefit from it. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, however, reacted to de Blasio's idea for closing down New York City with derision. It was dangerous, he said, and served only to scare people. Language mattered, Cuomo said, and, quote, shelter in place sounded like it was a response to a nuclear apocalypse. Moreover, Cuomo said he alone had the power to order such a measure. So, while the governor of California worked closely with the mayor of San Francisco to shut the city down, that exact same plan that was handed to New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio that he gave to Andrew Cuomo to shut the city down was not accepted. Now, eventually, about a week later, Andrew Cuomo did shut the city down. But by then, I mean, when it comes to a virus like this, a few days makes a huge difference. By then, it was already too late. As of May 15th, there were nearly 350,000 COVID-19 cases in New York and more than 27,500 deaths, nearly a third of the nation's total. The corresponding numbers in California, just under 75,000 cases and slightly more than 3,000 deaths. In New York City, the country's most populous and densest, there had been just under 20,000 deaths. In San Francisco, the country's second densest and 13th most populous, there had been 35. So you see here a massive disparity between New York City and San Francisco, despite the fact they are very close in terms of the amount of people that live there. And it comes down to how quickly each city responded compared to the other. Now, there's also more reporting on this. This from The Guardian, from Lyda Gold and Nathan Robinson. Andrew Cuomo is no hero. He's to blame for New York's coronavirus catastrophe. His record was terrible before coronavirus, but his abysmal handling of the crisis should get him thrown out of office. But delay was not the only screw-up. Elderly prisoners have died of coronavirus because New York has failed to act on their medical parole requests. As Business Insider documented, quote, testing was slow. Nonprofit social service agencies that serve the most vulnerable couldn't get answers either. And medical experts like the former CDC director Tom Frieden said so many deaths could have been prevented had New York issued its stay-at-home order just days earlier than it did. On March 19th, when New York's schools had already been closed, Cuomo said, in many ways, the fear is more dangerous than the virus. The governor has failed to take responsibility for the obvious failures, consistently blaming others and at one point even saying governors don't do pandemics. Actually, some governors just don't read their state's pandemic plans. But much of the press has ignored this, focusing instead on Cuomo's aesthetic presentation, his poise during press conferences, his dramatic statements about taking responsibility, even when he obviously hasn't, and his invisible good looks. He's lauded for addressing a problem that he himself partly caused. Of course, part of this is because Donald Trump has bungled the coronavirus response even more badly, so that Cuomo, by not being a complete buffoon, looks like a capable statesman by contrast. But this is the problem. For too long, Democrats have measured their politicians by whether they are better than Republicans. This sets the bar very low indeed, and means that Democrats end up settling for incompetent and amoral leaders who betray progressive values again and again. So, there's a lot more to this in both of the articles. I'll link to them below the video in the description box under sources. You can check them out, read the full thing. Andrew Cuomo has had a horrible response. And it is on the media's job, including on CNN, to actually hold these politicians accountable.